and Hamas have reached a landmark ceasefire deal to halt war in Gaza. The deal, structured in 3 phases, includes the withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza and the release of hostages. Qatar and the United States announced the deal, saying the ceasefire would take effect on Sunday.
Because at long last, I can announce a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas. For more than 15 months of conflict that began with Hezbollah's brutal massacre on October the 7th, more than 15 months of terror for the hostages, their families, the Israeli people, more than 15 months of suffering by the innocent people of Gaza. Fighting in Gaza will stop, and soon the hostages will return home to their families.
The deal will take effect in 3 phases, with the first phase lasting 6 weeks. Meanwhile, during the initial 42-day ceasefire, Hamas would release 33 hostages. Those first released would be women, children, elderly people, as well as ill and wounded people. Several Palestinian prisoners would be freed in exchange for the hostages, with the final number depending on how many of the 33 hostages are alive. Reports say 30 Palestinian prisoners will be released for each hostage, while 50 prisoners will be set free for each female soldier. Israeli forces would withdraw from crowded areas in Gaza. Reports say that Israeli forces would withdraw from the Netzarim corridor westward towards Salahuddin Road to the east. Phase 1 will also see the return of the displaced people to their residences. The second and third phases would be finalized during the initial 42 days. Welcoming the deal, Israeli President Isaac Herzog said that the agreement was the right move to bring back hostages.
Special thanks to the President of the United States, Joe Biden, and his administration for their efforts. And of course to the incoming President of the United States, Donald Trump, and his people. I know that the issue of the hostages and the security of the State of Israel and its citizens are always in the thoughts of President Trump and the incoming administration.
Israel's cabinet was expected to meet on Thursday to approve the ceasefire and hostage release deal. Israel's foreign minister, Gideon Sa'ar, says that the ceasefire deal was a very tough decision that the Israeli cabinet would have to accept. However, 2 of Netanyahu's ministers have publicly opposed the deal. Far-right finance minister Bezalel Smotrich said that the agreement was a bad and dangerous deal for the security of the State of Israel, while National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir said that he opposed the disastrous deal. Demonstrators in Tel Aviv calling for the release of the hostages rejoiced as news of the agreement spread. But even as thousands across Gaza celebrated the ceasefire, the territory's civil defense agency said at least 20 people were killed in Israeli strikes after the agreement was announced. Meanwhile, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump said that he would use the momentum of the deal to expand the Abraham Accords. The accords were agreed during his first term, which normalized Israel's relations with several Arab countries. Trump has repeatedly threatened that there would be, quote, hell to pay if hostages were not released ahead of his January 20th inauguration. With Israel and Hamas reaching a ceasefire deal after 15 months of war, here are some experts' takes on the deal. Listen in.
In the long term, it is hard to see how this kind of deal can be stable for a very simple reason. The stated goal of Hamas, which was reiterated yesterday by a Hamas leader, the stated goal of Hamas is the destruction of Israel. Hamas is saying that it wants to carry out more massacres like it did on October 7th until Israel is destroyed. So I find it very strange that it's written or considered in this agreement that there will be a permanent ceasefire. A permanent ceasefire is completely against what Hamas stands for and what it brags about openly. I think Hamas is playing the long game, and Israel will need to play the long game too and be very careful.
The big question is, will this ceasefire hold, and for how long? Because Hamas made it clear last night, their point man on the negotiations, Khalil al-Hayya, said that this is not the end of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. On the contrary, Hamas will continue to try and remove Israel from everything that they call the occupied territories, which is basically all of Israel. So I think this is really just another small break in the Hamas-Israel war, which will most likely continue at some point down the road.